What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the RGV Sports Football Podcast. My name is Bryan Ramos.
And I'm Ivan Palacios. Bryan, district play is here for everyone now. No more non-district games. It's the real season now for everyone. Everyone's full swing now, man. What are you thinking?
Yeah, absolutely. We're entering week 7. Week 6 kind of marks that midway point in the regular season, Ivan, and we're past it, man. We just got over that hump. Now we're down to that home stretch, man, getting towards that, like you said, district starting, district title races, playoff races, and of course, teams fighting for bragging rights as we have a few rivalry games coming up here in week 7 that we're looking forward to. So exciting times here in the RGV high school football season, and we're going to start off recapping our week 6 action. And we had a shootout, a high scoring affair in our week 6 game of the week. Ivan, you were there. What do you got for us?
Yeah, man. So our RGV Sports Game of the Week took us to Leo Aguilar Stadium there in Los Fresnos with the Los Fresnos Falcons hosting the Sharyland High Rattlers. And you know, we expected fireworks. You got two of the top quarterbacks in Robert Pineda and Calvin Harris on there. And, you know, it didn't disappoint. Early on, these two teams are trading blows. You know, it seemed like every time Los Fresnos scored, Sharyland would answer. And it went back and forth until it didn't. You know, Los Fresnos was back-to-back 28-point quarters. They scored 28 in the second, 28 in the third.
Damn.
End up putting out 70 points to take down Sharyland High, 70-33. They had no answer for Robert Pineda. I mean, over 172 yards through the air. 2 touchdowns, 217 and six touchdowns on the ground, just a monster game from them. And, you know, you got a 5A D2 school, though, playing a 6A school. So they hung tough for a while, but, you know, at the end, those Fresnos proved to be too much. That offense, I remember I talked to Robert 2 weeks ago. He wanted to show that they were explosive. I think they showed they were explosive for sure. To put up 70 points against anyone, it's a big deal. They did it on homecoming night. Just a great performance all around by the Falcons. 2 interceptions of Calvin Harris. They had a kick return touchdown, so everyone got in on the scoring that day. And once again, you know, Los Fresnos takes down Sharyland High 70-33 in the RGV Sports Game of the Week. You know, just an offensive showcase there by both sides.
Yeah, 2 of the best quarterbacks going at it there in the lower valley to wrap up non-district play, and those 2 guys delivered, man. Fireworks, a bunch of touchdowns, a bunch of yards between them. So shout out to those 2 for putting on a show last week in the RGV Sports Game of the Week. And then like we said, a few teams starting district this week, but we got a few districts that are already, that they've been in district for a few weeks now, for about a month now, and that is District 15 5A D1. We had a good matchup last week, PSG North versus Harlingen South, and PSG North picks up a big one, man. They're up 42-3 at the half. They pick up a 42-17 win over Harlingen South as the Raiders win their 25th consecutive regular season game, which is hard to do. And this game, man, PSG North, they just dominated physically from start to finish on both sides of the ball. Harlingen South came out good. They had a good first drive, and then that was kind of it. The whole first half, Harlingen South had 32 yards on their first drive of the game, and they finished with 18 total yards of offense in the first half. So after that first possession, PSG North was just really on them, making them go backwards. So, and then PSG North offensively, Ethan Guerra, 156 all-purpose yards, 3 touchdowns on 14 touches. And then quarterback Darren Garcia, 101 passing yards, 79 rushing yards, and 3 total touchdowns. So just a really complete performance from PSG North. They didn't play their starters, their offensive starters, in the second half. So the defense stayed in for most of the third quarter, took them out in the fourth quarter, and Harlingen South scored a couple of touchdowns late. But, man, this PSG North team, they looked, I mean, just a couple weeks ago, they shut down Corpus Christi Veterans 35-7. Now this week, I mean, it was really 42-3 before they pulled their starters out. So this PSG North team just as good as it gets here in the Rio Grande Valley. So big win for the Raiders. They improved to 5-0 overall, 3-0 in district play. Harlingen South drops to 2-2 in district and 3-3 overall. Ivan, back to you, man. I know we had some other high-scoring affairs going on in week 6.
Yeah, no, we talked about Robert's big night. You know, now over at La Feria, you have Brownsville St. Joseph take down the Lions 62-13. You know, 60-plus points. I mean, come on, man. You know, they had over 700 total yards of offense that game. I think that was a program record, first time they've gone that high. And leading the charge was quarterback Gavin Cisneros, 18 of 25 for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. Carries the ball 10 times for 198 yards and 4 touchdowns. And He's our RGBsports.com co-player of the week, alongside our other quarterback, Robert Pineda. Both juniors, big performances this week, so shout out to both those guys.
Yeah, both
big games. You also got to give a shout out to Claudio Torres, man. That kid's an athlete. He's been balling out all season long. Last Thursday or Friday was just another day in the office. 139 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns, 150 yards and 3 touchdowns through the air. So the kid's over 1,300 yards on the year already.
Yeah.
18 total touchdowns, an athlete just tearing it up on the field. And Bloodhounds improved to 5-1. Their one loss coming to that Austin Regions team earlier this season, but they've bounced back nicely, and they got a big one this week. We'll talk to that one a little later, but shout out the Bloodhounds and that offense that they're putting together. It's exciting times down there in Brownsville St. Joe's.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That team can score with the best of them, and to keep things moving, to stay in District 15-5A D1, Flower Bluff picks up a big 49-14 win over Westaco East. Westaco East was 4-0 coming into this one, Flower Bluff 5-0, and of course we know how good this Flower Bluff offense is with Jaden Palacios, UTRGV football and baseball commit, running that offense. And man, they were on fire. In under 2 minutes they had a 14-0 lead on Westaco East. They jumped on them early, were able to hold down that Westaco East running game until late in the fourth quarter or in the second half. So just another big win by Flower Bluff, man, and it feels like Flower Bluff and PSG North are kind of on a collision course. Those two big dogs here, the Coastal Bend's best against the Rio Grande Valley's best, and of course they're going to face some good teams before they meet in week 10. But I think those two know that those are the two district title contenders there in 15-5A D1. So big win for Flower Bluff as they come down to the valley and pick up a big win over Westaco East at Bobby Lackey Stadium. And Ivan, back to you, man. What other games caught your eye last Thursday and Friday?
Thursday night took me to Charger Stadium there in Brownsville, the home of the Brownsville Veterans Chargers, where they hosted the Sharyland Pioneer Diamondbacks. And I think a lot of people expected Brownsville Vets to come in and just run over them. It wasn't the case early on. They were 21-21 at the break. Pioneer was matching them blow for blow. Wow. William Goodlow, a 50-yard touchdown run. Dylan Tijerina, 50-yard touchdown run. Second half, completely different story, though. The Chargers outscored the Diamondbacks 24-0 in the second half and come away with a 45-21 win. They finished non-district play with the 4-2 mark. They're kind of finding their footing now. I think after that PSJ High game, Coach JC was talking to his kids and said, this game wasn't just another game for us. This was kind of the turning point of the season. They were 2-2 at that point. And then since then, back-to-back wins and 545 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns on the ground that against Pioneer. And I think they're starting to find their identity. Alvin Trevelyan over 600 yards and 7 touchdowns. You got Cesar Belmontes, 734 yards and 6 touchdowns. I think they're filling in those big shoes left behind by guys like Gilbert Trillo, Jerry Gomez. And then Storm Montoya, got to give a shout out to him. He became the all-time touchdown leader there at Brownsville Vets with a 56 career touchdowns. He scored twice during that win. And just, Chargers are, they're picking up steam and they head into district play with a huge matchup to kick off their return to 6A. So we'll get into that one a little later, but shout out the Chargers with that 45-21 win over the Diamondbacks on Thursday.
Yeah, big win there to wrap up non-district play for those two teams. And both of them have spots in our top 10 rankings, which we'll get into in a little bit. But to wrap up our Week 6 recap, Mission Veterans, they're in District 15-5A D2. They're wrapping up non-district play last week, and they get their first win of the season, Ivan, a 28-7 win over Brownsville Hanna. Quarterback Cameron Sarinana, 242 yards, 4 touchdowns. Running back Ben Martinez, two receiving touchdowns. Robert Sharp goes over 100 yards receiving, and receiver Jordan Rodriguez with a touchdown grab as well. So this Mission Veterans team, man, they played some tough squads in non-district play, and we've seen them hang tough in some games. We've seen them have a rough go at times, but hey, man, they won. They're 1-5 in the win column, and they enter district play next week, and that's what really counts. Yes, that second season where the playoffs and district titles are on the line. So they got to be feeling good to get that monkey off their back and to start district play on a positive note. So Mission Veterans starting to put things together. 28-7 win, and I talked about their quarterback Cameron Sarinana and But linebacker Aiden Uribe, I think he leads the Rio Grande Valley in tackles at the moment through 6 weeks, and he's just a stud. Had another 15-plus tackle game here against Brownsville Hannah. So big win for the Patriots as they wrap up non-district play. And now with our week 6 in the books, we're going to dive into our top 10. And week 6, Ivan, we had a lot of districts here on a bye, so not much movement here in the RGV Sports 5A, 6A top 10, the sub 5A top 4, and the Coastal Bend top 4. So we'll quickly run through them. PSG North, they win. They over Harlingen South. They stay at number 1. They've been number 1 from start to this point, entering week 7. So PSG North at number 1. Edinburgh Vela was on a bye last week. They are 5-0 overall, coming in at number 2. McAllen Memorial at number 3. They slide up because our number 3 team last week, Westaco East, lost a big one against Flower Bluff. And then we also had Harlingen High, who was at number 4. They lost a tough one to Cuero, so they slide. So at number 3, we got McAllen Memorial. Number 4, Brownsville Veterans. Number 5, PSG High. Number 6, Los Fresnos. Number 7, Harlingen. Number 8, Westaco High. Number 9, Westaco East. And number 10, making their debut in the RGV Sports Top 10, is Sherryland Pioneer. And so, not much movement, but as we said, a lot of these teams will be playing as we get in district play, especially we've got quite a few 32 6A teams here in these standings, a couple 31 6A squads. Edinburgh Vela, McAllen Memorial, and 15 5A D1 right in at number 2 and number 3. So while there wasn't much movement this week, we'll definitely see some coming up these next few weeks over the last month and change of the Texas high school football regular season. Now, Ivan, if you want to run through the sub 5A top 4 in the Coastal Bend quickly, not too much movement there either.
No, not at all. I mean, sub 5A, only 2 of the top 4 teams in action. Port Isabel retains the number 1 spot. They moved to 6-0 with that win over Roma this weekend. You know, St. Joe's stays at number 2, 5-1 on the year. You know, big matchup coming up for those two. We'll get into that one in a bit. And then Santa Rosa and Santa Maria come in at 3-4. Both of them were on bye weeks this last week, and now they're gearing up for that meat grinder, that district schedule. And the Coastal Bend's up for Flower Bluff. You know, improves to 6-0 this last week, and they retain their spot at number 1. Miller heads into that bye week after that loss to Sinton. They remain at number 2. I mean, their 2 losses have come against state-ranked opponents, so no change there. Moody also on a bye. They're 4-1 on the year. And then number 4, Tulsa Midway, they dropped a game, but it was a close one to Alice. They're 4-2 on the year, and they're serious district title contenders in their district. So that wraps up our top 4, Brian. And, you know, we got to look ahead now. You know, week 7's here, like I mentioned. District play is here, and it kicks off with a banger, man. 32 6A. You get one of the more historic programs in Valley history, the standard for many people in Valley football. The number 7 Harlingen High Cardinals. You know, hitting the road to take on the number 4 Brownsville Veterans Chargers. I mean, can you ask for a better game to open district? That's this Thursday at 7 p.m. at Sam's Memorial Stadium. And you got 2 run-heavy teams, man. You know, you got Harlingen High. They got running back Noah Huerta, over 102 carries, 738 yards, and 9 touchdowns. And we talked a little about Brownsville Vets trio. They got Alvin Trevelyan, Cesar Belmontes, and Storm Montoya, all weapons in the running game. And should be a banger, man. You got 2 physical teams like that. Their defenses are physical. They make you not want to run the ball. And, you know, I think the biggest thing's going to be quarterback Hassan Woolery. He made his first start last week against Cuero. Showed some promise. You know, he wasn't asked to throw much, only 9 passes, completed 4 of them for about 50 yards. And he rushed for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. The only 2 touchdowns for Harlingen last week. So I think they're going to, you know, slowly open up the playbook for him maybe. But he's got that running back next to him, and Noah Huerta, and you're not going to ask your freshman to do that much. You know, he did have some turnovers. You did, you know, some growing pains there. But, you know, it's district now. This is the meat grinder. This is, you know, 1 loss and your district title hopes can be just dashed away, you know, especially with the 5-team district that they're in. So what a better way to start 32-6 play than with a banger with these 2 teams, physical programs, a program on the rise in Brownsville Vets and a program that's established in Harlingen High. Yeah,
that should be a good one, man. It's like Brownsville Vets, we know what they did last year, reaching the state semifinals, and then they jump up to 6A after the UIL reclassification, realignment, and now to open district play, hey, here are the Harlingen High Cardinals. So, but hey, man, Brownsville Veterans has been up to every single challenge,
yes, sir.
Every single time, dating, not just this year, not just this squad, dating back to the last several years. So,
Definitely.
yeah, expecting a good one there. That's a banger, man. 32-6A kicks off with a good one
Yes, sir.
this week. And, man, I mean, you talked about a good one between two good teams there. Man, this rivalry, I kind of hinted at it earlier, alluded to it. We got some rivalry games going on here in week 7. Mercedes at Ed Couch Elsa. There's only one other rivalry I can think of that here in the Rio Grande Valley that can, you know what I mean, that can contend on that level, and that of course being the Battle of the Arroyo with San Benito and Harlingen. But man, these two, Mercedes and Ed Couch Elsa, they opened District 16 5A D2 play against each other. It's a 7 p.m. kickoff. Friday at Benny Layton Memorial Stadium in Ed Couch Elsa. And man, I expect a good one. Both of them are 3-2 entering this game. Seen some positives in non-district play. Both of them hit a couple bumps in the road, but that's what non-district is for. See what you're made of, and see if you can contend for a district title, contend for a playoff spot. And I think we've kind of touched on it kind of all year about how wide open District 16 5A D2 is. There's a few good teams in there. Not really one heavy favorite that you can just say, oh, I'm going to put my money on this team. They're going to be the district champion. This one's kind of up for grabs, and it starts off with two teams that have those district title aspirations in Mercedes and Ed Couch Elsa. So I expect a good one out of these two. Man, Ed Couch Elsa, 3 running backs over 200, or 2 running backs and 1 quarterback over 250 yards rushing, but the real bright spot for this Ed Couch Elsa team is that Thunder defense, man.
Yes,
Troy Barco with 70 tackles, Gavin Rodriguez with 56, and Matt Cano with 53 tackles. All 3 studs on all 3 levels of the defense for Ed Couch Elsa. And then Mercedes, man, they've been getting it going, man. They have that a balanced offense, 2 quarterback system with Aaron Cortez and Diego Bravo. And then, of course, Robert Sanchez with 703 yards, 6 rushing touchdowns this season in 5 games. So he's off to a really good start running the ball for that Tigers offense. So, man, I expect a good one between these two. It's a rivalry game. Everything goes out the window, man. And now there's also district title implications on the line. So I expect a good one between these two, man. It's always fireworks whenever they meet up. So 7 p.m. Friday in Ed Couch Elsa. Expecting a good one between the Mercedes Tigers and the Ed Couch Elsa Yellow Jackets. And Ivan, back to you, man. I know we got a few sub 5A powers squaring off this week in what should be a good one between some really good teams that have been really hot to start.
Yeah, man. So you have the #1 sub 5A team in the Port Isabel Tarpons traveling to Canales Field in Brownsville to take on the #2 sub 5A team, the Brownsville St. Joseph Bloodhounds. And it's going to be a banger, I think. You know, it's also Brownsville St. Joseph's homecoming that weekend. You know, it's at Canales Field. It's exciting. You got 2 of the top teams in the valley at the sub 5 level. Both look like contenders in their districts and for deep playoff runs. Really, I mean, they're built to win. You got Tony V on one side, that run-heavy offense. You know, they want to play nasty. They want to get physical with you, and they're led by running back Luis Ramos, 767 rushing yards and 12 touchdowns in only 5 games. You know, they're 6-0. One of their games came on a forfeit, but. So, I mean, he has 1 less game than some of these guys that are up there in the top, and he's still number 4 in the valley in rushing. So it's just crazy numbers by the kid. You know, it seems like he's a home run threat every time he touches the ball. On the opposite side, we talked about him a little, Claudio Torres, man. Like, how are you going to stop this guy? You know, Coach Tino finds creative ways to use him, whether it's in the backfield, out wide, in motion. He's going to get him the ball, and he's going to score. So, you know, it's going to be interesting to see how Port Isabel tries to slow down Claudio. But, I mean, you also got Gavin back there at quarterback. You got running back Andre Cristiano, who can step in at a moment's notice, make a play. I mean, it's going to be a physical one, I think. You know, it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of match up. Can Port Isabel keep up with that high-scoring offense, or can they grind them down and pick up that win? And it's really for that sub 5A title, I would say. You know, between the two teams, who's the #1 sub 5A team? We're about to find out Friday. That's this Friday, 7:30 at Canales Field.
Yeah. I like you said, Ivan, I don't think there's any doubt these two have been the best sub 5A squads. They can hang with. Or we're not just saying this. They've proven they can hang. You go look at their schedules and who they've beaten, whatever. They can hang with 5A, 6A, and whoever is on their schedules. So that should be a good one, man. Should be a dogfight between Port Isabel and St. Joseph. So looking forward to that one, man. That's a good one here to wrap up non-district play. And now to dive into a few district matchups at the 5A level. We got Mission Veterans taking on Sherryland High in the District 15-5A D2 opener. Then we also got Alice opening up against Sherryland Pioneer. I expect, Alice is coming in off a big win over Tolosa Midway. They beat them 28-27. They'll visit Sherryland Pioneer, who's coming off that loss against Brownsville Veterans. But this matchup that I'm looking forward to is Mission Veterans and Sherryland High. I know Mission Veterans is 1-5, Sherryland 3-3, but the quarterback matchup, Ivan, you got to see Calvin Harris go toe-to-toe with Robert Pineda last week. Now we got Mission Veterans quarterback Cameron Sarinana going against Calvin Harris this week. Calvin has over 1,750 passing yards, 19 touchdowns, and nearly 500 yards rushing. And Cameron is off to a good start as well. His first in his first year as a starter with close to 1,200 passing yards and 9 touchdowns. So I'm expecting a good one out of this one, man. The rivals, they both share the city of Mission. They've always been in districts together, so I expect a good one between this one. District 15-5A D2 opener, 7 p.m. Thursday at Richard Thompson Stadium in Sherryland in Mission. So yeah, expecting a good one there between the Patriots and the Rattlers. And Ivan, back to you, man. I know we got some, we talked about how 32-6A is starting, and I know we got another big district opener at the 6A level.
Yeah, man. So in 31-6A, Thursday at 7 p.m., PSA High, last year's district champ, takes on the team that finished second, Edinburgh High, at 7 p.m. at Richard Flores Stadium. You know, and the Bears are coming in with a 3-2 record. You know, so they lost to PSA North, they lost to Brownsville Vets, but I think they know that they're better than that. They're one of the top teams in the Valley. Their 2 losses come against 2 of the top teams. Yeah. And you know, they hung tough with those teams. And on the other side, you got an Edinburgh High team that, you know, is hungry. Last year, they started the season 0-5 before finishing 4-1 and second in district. This year, it's a little different. They're 3-2. They hung tough with those Fresnos for a half, and you know, I think though it'll be a good physical matchup. PSA High loves to air the ball out. You know, you got Miles Lopez, over 1,600 passing yards and 13 touchdowns, and quarterback receiver Ryan Vallejo, 665 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns. And you know, Edinburgh High uses a 2 quarterback system. You got senior JT Santamaria, over 500 total yards of offense, and you got Aiden Sanchez, a sophomore that comes in too. And, you know, Oscar Hassel, another sophomore at running back with 273 yards and 2 touchdowns. So they're going to try to run the ball. PSA High is going to try to pass it. 2 different styles. It's going to be a tone setter for the start of district. Who's going to take that first step to either, you know, going back-to-back as district champs or dethroning the district champs. Yeah. So it'll be a big one there. And just such another quick 31-6A game. Friday, we got a matchup between, you know, crosstown rivals between Edinburgh North and Edinburgh Economides. That's this Friday at 7:30 at Richard Flores. Edinburgh North, 8 straight wins against Economides, but that Jaguars team looks good this year. This might be the year, but you can't count Edinburgh North out. Damien Gonzalez, head coach there, has his team ready to go every week. Yeah, that should be a good one. Another rivalry matchup here in Week 7. And to wrap up our Week 7 preview, we're going to wrap up with another rivalry matchup. McAllen Memorial, McAllen High, the original rivals in the city of McAllen. I expect a good one out of this one, man. McAllen Memorial has been on a roll. They're coming off an impressive win over Mission in Week 5. Both teams coming off their bye week in Week 6. So they've had 2 weeks to kind of go back and look at each other, see what Mac High's done well, see what Memorial has done well, and now they'll meet on the field Friday night, 7:30 p.m. at McAllen Veterans Memorial Stadium in McAllen. And McAllen Memorial 4-1, Mac High 1-4. But hey, when it's a rivalry game, you throw records out the window. It just comes down to 48 minutes Friday night, and anything can happen anytime the Mustangs and Bulldogs meet up. So that should be a good one there in District 15-5A D1. And we also got another one just to touch on, La Jolla Palmview and Mission High, 2 playoff contenders there in 15-5A D1 meet up this week. So that should be a good one as well. That game is Friday in Mission at Tom Landry Stadium at 7 p.m. So expecting a good one this week. Ivan, we got most of the teams now in district play. I know we still got a couple sub-5A squads like Port Isabel and Brownsville St. Joseph and their districts who have not begun district play yet. But, man, for the most part, we got some big-time matchups. Now every win matters. Will you do enough to get into the playoffs,
or will you can you do enough to compete for a district title, or will it not be enough? Now we get to the games that really matter. So I'm looking forward to it. Ivan, just your thoughts on week 7 as we get here with district football kicking off just for the majority of teams here in the Valley.
I mean, it's exciting, man, especially at that 6A level. You got 32 6A, a 5-team district. You know, one loss and you might be out of the district title race altogether. You know, one win and you might be in the playoffs. I mean, it could go either way, but that one's going to be tight. I don't think there's a clear-cut winner. I think Brownsville Vets, Harlingen, those Fresnos have all established themselves as the top teams in that district, but none of them have really pulled away just yet.
Yeah.
They both have their positives. They both have stuff they need to work on, but it's a wide open district. And at 31-6, same thing. I mean, yeah, PHA High is great, but don't count out the Panthers. I mean, they won 3 straight to close out non-district play.
Yeah.
Their 2 losses, I mean, they lose to Harlingen, they lose to McAllen Memorial. It's not like they lost to someone they shouldn't have. They kept it close. So, you know, PHA High is not a lock-in for that 31-6A title, and that's going to be a game to watch down the stretch. Those Bears, Panthers going head-to-head. So just exciting times. It's, you know, that back end of the schedule. It's when things get tougher. District games, I mean, it seems like every district game's a lot closer once you get into that, you know, level.
Yeah, and just to touch on kind of what you just said, Ivan, District 15 5A D2, 5 teams, and I think all 5 teams have a realistic hopes of winning that district title with Alice, Roma, Sharyland High, Sharyland Pioneer, and Mission Veterans. Who will be the best, in my opinion? Sharyland High and Sharyland Pioneer, and even Roma, man. They've all done really good things to put themselves in really good position entering district play. Can Mission Veterans get hot now that they're in district play? Can Alice get hot now? And then as we've touched on, 16 5A D2. I mean, it's a 16 district. I think there's 4 teams that have a real shot at winning the district title, Ivan. Ed Couch, Elsa, Mercedes, Brownsville Pace, Brownsville Lopez. And it's been a while since some of those teams have been in the discussions, not just district titles, but playoff contention.
Definitely.
And now here we are, week 7. Everybody's 0-0 in the record books, clean slate, and everybody's going to be battling to get into those playoffs and fighting for district titles. So, yeah, we're really looking forward to week 7 and the remaining month here that we have in the high school football regular season. Only a month, man. This thing has flown by. Yeah. But, yeah, so with that said, that wraps up this episode of the RGV Sports Podcast. Ivan, why don't you tell the people what they can find at rgvsports.com and with our YouTube page?
Yeah, man. If you head to our website, you know, like we've said before, head to the football tab. You got district standings. You got stats. You can go to your team's page to check out their results. It's all there for you. Make it easier. Like you mentioned before, Max Preps does a great job, but we localize it for you guys. See all the top leaders from all the Valley's district, reported leaders, that is. And, you know, from standings, like I said, passing, you want to see who the sack leader is, who has the most extra points made. We got it all for you there on our website and our YouTube. I mean, we bring you highlight reels, post-game interviews. You know, we got volleyball, we got cross-country going on, too. So it's all there for you. We're just trying to bring y'all the best coverage in the Valley. And especially now, it's gold ball season, like Coach Gilpin likes to say. You know, it's time to chase that gold ball. So everything's there for you, ready to go, ready to check out every week.
Yeah, everything you need, rgvsports.com, on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube. You can catch us there for all your RGV Sports, high school and college sports news covering UTRGV. Volleyball's in action, soccer's in action, and in a few weeks, basketball is going to be starting. So,
Coach Fennell, year 1.
Yeah, looking forward to covering some UTRGV athletics coming up here shortly. So, yeah, this wraps up this episode of the RGV Sports Football Podcast. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll catch you next time.